I'm here with Lorenzo from TriTank. TriTank's an experimental lab which will offer much-needed inventive approach to the challenges facing the Episcopal Church. Working in partnership across the Episcopal Church, particularly Virginia Theological Seminary and General Theological Seminary, the TriTank will work to understand the forces threatening the Church in order to identify creative ways to equip future leaders to reinvigorate the Church. Is that an accurate description?
Yeah, it's. I just normally say we're the experimental lab for church growth and innovation.
Experimental
Much
lab.
faster. Yeah.
Yes.
And what that means is that we don't just think it. We actually go out and experiment. Part of our ethos is to go out and try things. Hence the name TriTank.
So I know you just gave a presentation, but to recap, how many experiments do you have live right now?
We have a total of 17 experiments, of which 3 are either concluded, 1 failed, not a happy ending to it, but it failed, and which is fine, and 2 that are on indefinite hold because of costs and we couldn't find the right partners. But then we have about 8 that are actively doing stuff, and then the rest are in development, like getting close to accepting applications, getting our partners. We consider the congregations out in the Episcopal Church. So all of these are not tried. We call it a laboratory, right? But our laboratory is the Episcopal Church, is the actual ground where people are doing ministry, and that's where we want to try things to see if they work. It's not just a head exercise, and it's not just in a really small little setting, but rather we're out there trying it in ministry settings, and those are our partners.
So people can watch our previous Lorenzo's talk that happened right before this to know all about all the other experiments. But a question I had was, how do you discover an experiment? Like, how does this even happen? How do you think of these experiments, and what's that process?
That's a question I get asked a lot. There are 2 ways that happens. One, it is so I've got to give you a little background so that you can understand
Sure.
a little bit. So when I was going through the process to become a priest, you do the psychological testing and all that, and I'm not as crazy as most people think, at least not technically. But one of the things that came up was that I have divergent thinking, and when I saw that, I was like, "What does that mean?" And my therapist told me at the time, he's like, "What it means is that if I'm on a sinking ship, I'm not losing sight of you, because whereas most people, when they reach a choice, they narrow in on the choice. I continue to find options for that choice." And so all that to say, that's the way my brain works. And so when I will read an article in the Wall Street Journal, and I'll be like, well, that's interesting technology, or that's an interesting sort of fact to know, then inevitably what happens is 3 or 4 days later, the Holy Spirit will put in front of me someone that says like, what would be really cool is if we had a solution for fill in the blank. Oh my God, I just read about this technology that can be used for that, or I know a fact about this because I just read this article, and is making those connections that allows us to find this, like, might there be a way there? So I'll give you another example. One of the experiments that we're in the midst of creating right now that has not been announced, Newsbreak, right? But that we're this close to doing is, have you ever been to a very Anglo parish that tries to play a sort of African-American spiritual song, and they put it in the organ, and it's much slower, and you're like, it sounds familiar, but it's not quite.
Something's not quite right.
It's like the Musack version of it or something. It's that's not right. So what we're going to do is we're in the midst of, and we're going to test it out, right? We want to create a gospel choir, an Episcopal gospel choir that can tour, but before they give a concert on tour that will be of great music, which is awesome, is that they will give a master class to the choirs and choir directors of the nearby areas so they can learn, this is how you can do it authentically. Yeah. This is within your limitations of, maybe you only have an organ, you don't have whatever it might be, right? Maybe you don't have any African Americans that in our church, right? This is how you can still be authentic to the music. So doing that master class before they give that concert. So we're going to try it out in a few cities and see if it works, see if it actually makes a difference in how people A, receive the music, and B, how they can engage with that music on an ongoing basis.
That's really fascinating. So where do you see these experiments going, let's say, 10 years from now? Like, what do you think will have changed in the church, and how can TriTank be a part of that evolution?
Oh, wow. I try not to think that far ahead, only because...
Well, if you could project and,
Well, I hope that I'm still part of the church, that they haven't just called me a heathen and kicked me out for all the wild and crazy stuff, experiments that we're doing. But what I hope that it does is it does a couple of things. That we can model innovation, that we can do things differently and still be true to our tradition, to our faith, to the depthness of Christianity, right? One of the things we cannot do, right, that they would do in Silicon Valley. In Silicon Valley is destroy the past and move forward, right? You're an innovator, just disrupt and move forward. We can't do that. We have apostolic succession. We have the wisdom of the church that comes with us. So the question for us is, how do we, with all of that, how do we still try to find where the Spirit is today and where the Spirit is leading us? So hopefully we'll be able to model that so that it is not just Tri-Tank doing it, but then all of a sudden your congregation in wherever you live in, Idaho will be able to, hey, what if we tried this a little bit this way? And that's why part of what we're trying to do is also share how we do our innovation process, and I'm doing a workshop on that, how we do innovation, how we think it through to try to minimize the chances that something horrible will destroy the church, right? The second thing that we hopefully will model is that it is okay to try and fail.
Yeah.
My guess is that a ton of our experiments are going to fail, and that's good.
We just want those one or two that will really succeed.
Yeah, or that even if it's not one or two, even if it's 10 or 20.
Yeah, that would be really good. Yeah.
But yes, we have those that, wow, these can really, like the Latino ministry in a box, I think can really make a difference in how we approach Latino ministry now. But I also want us to be able to say, like, even the things that didn't work, that it's okay. That it doesn't mean that we can't try new things because some have failed.
So I'm excited about Tri-Tank because it's a lot of what Missional Voices is about is trying stuff, failing, bringing people together, innovative thought leaders and thinkers, and stuff from people from different contexts coming together and experimenting. So we're all kind of in this innovative space all the time and working in this in the church and trying to see what will happen and what will come from it. So I want to thank you for kind of
my pleasure.
getting all this stuff going, something that I would love to see us continue in the future as partners and working together with Missional Voices and Tri-Tank. And
absolutely, I love that.
We're all on the same. We're all in it together. Same end goal.
Yes, and the same goal. And I am mindful of this each and every day. The same end goal, which is to spread the good news of Jesus Christ to a world that desperately needs it. All of what we do here, none of it is because it's cute or it's fun or wow, we might get more people in church on Sunday. Those are great. But ultimately, none of that works if we're not teaching Jesus about a God. If we're not teaching the world about a God who loves them, right, and loves them so much that sent Jesus to be among us.
So, how can people find out more about Tri-Tank, and where can they find you online?
Sure. So, I'm going to talk to one of the cameras. I said no. It's you can go to tritank.org. That's TRYTANK.org. Tritank.org. I'm Lorenzo at tritank.org. If you ever just need to reach out to me. And I'm also on Facebook. You can just find me also through the Tri-Tank thing, where you see me wherever I'm traveling and all that. I post a lot of pictures and comments of things that are working, not working, and how we're doing the work.
Well, thank you, Lorenzo, for joining us, and we'll talk to you soon.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Bye-bye.